Hi there, this is Malay and welcome back to my channel. Now this is part 8 of the Excel Action series in Power Automate Desktop. So if you have not gone through the previous videos, I will leave the link in the description. You can go and watch them and can resume from here. Now I have a sales team 1 data here. However, I don't have the color in my header. So let's go ahead and color the cells that are in the header. So for that, look for set color of cells in the Excel worksheet. So in this case, let's drag and drop. So we will be coloring multiple cells. So we're gonna go with a range of cells. The start column is going to be A, the start row is going to be 1, the end column is going to be G, and the end row is going to be 1. Now the color format is name or the hexadecimal value. So if you are very specific about the color, you can get the hexadecimal code of that color and can put it over here. For now, I'm going to go with the name. If you provide a name, you get the options in the drop down for your background color. So for example, I'll go with dark gray or I'll go with the dim gray. Click on save. So click run. Let's wait for that to complete, and you can see that we were successfully able to apply the background color to the range of cells. Now let's take a look at how do we work with running the macro files in the Excel. Now to enable the macro, we need to have the developer tab. So just in case if you want, you can go to file, go to options, go to customize ribbon and select the developer option here to make the developer tab available. Now I have a macro, and the macro is actually written in the module 1. Now make sure that the macro is written in the module 1. It should not be a part of this workbook or any of the sheets. If that is the case, then Power Automate Desktop will not be able to run the macro, even though you will be able to run the macro locally within the file itself. So make sure that the macro is in the module. Now I have a macro, and what that does is, if I go back to the sales team 1, it identifies all the records where the state is North Carolina, and when the macro runs, it picks up those data and puts it into the North Carolina sales team. So let's go ahead and click macro, and I just run this to show you. Now I have 2 records of North Carolina, so it copies the header as well as the values of those records. That's what the macro does. Macro can of course do a lot more than that. This is just the example. So open the advanced under the Excel and use a run Excel macro. Let me go ahead and drag and drop here. And in this, we'll have to specify the macro name in the Excel instance. So we are launching the Excel and then having the macro run. So let's go and grab the function name. So the function name, macro name is filter, and copy North Carolina cells. I'm going to simply go ahead and put this. Now make sure that if you don't have any of the argument in the macro, you can simply specify this. But if you have the argument within the macro, so for example, if this function accepts the argument, then you can provide it using semicolon. That will be argument 1, let's say argument 2, so on and so forth. The instruction is written over here. You can see the text should consist of a name of a macro followed by any arguments, all separated by semicolon. In this case, we don't have it, so we'll not specify this. Also, one more point is we should use launch an Excel, and it has to be the macro enabled Excel file. That is why the extension would be XLSM. And when we do this, we have to configure in the advanced option. If required, you can also enable nest under a new Excel process. That also gives you an option to load the add-in and macros. So if you have a macro that kind of performs some of the operations on opening the Excel file, you can go ahead and select this. For now, let's just disable this. We don't need it. Something that I wanted to show you. Click on save, and now let's go ahead and close this macro, and let's clear this out. It's cleared. Let's save the file. Let's save this and close it, and let's drag and drop the weight in between so that we can actually change the sheet and wait for a while when the macro runs and we can see it. Let's go ahead and click on run. This will then launch the Excel, set the active worksheet, Okay, so let's go ahead and wait for the macro to run, and you can see the macro is now successfully called and run. So that's how you can use runm Excel macro. So let's go ahead and delete this. Let's keep this, but let's disable this. Okay, now what we're going to be looking at is a functionality wherein it allows you to delete the cells and then shift the cells either on the left or on the right. Now I have a sales team 3 sheet, and you can see that there is an error here in E9 and E10. Now, of course, if you want to go ahead and select these two and click on delete, it will give you an option. Do you want to delete the entire row or entire column, or you want to shift the cells to the left or shift the cells to the up? Now, as we can see that we have two states down below. That means after removing these two items, we want to shift the cells up. So when you select this and click on OK, this is what it happens. And that is something that we will take a look at through the Power Automate desktop. Let's go back and select delete from Excel worksheet. Drag and drop here. You can see the value of a single cell if you want to delete, or you want to delete the values from a range of cells. Let's go with this. Start column, start row, end column, end row. In this case, it's going to be E9, E10. So let's specify E9, E10. And what should happen in the shift direction, whether it's left or up. In this case, we're going to go with up. Click on save. Let's save this and close it. Let's drag and drop weight before this, and let's enable this so that we'll be able to see that in action. And let's click run. It'll launch an Excel file. It's launching now, waiting. Let's wait for that. And you can see we successfully deleted the cells, and the other cells which were down below shifted up. Same way, if you have a requirement, you can use shift left. Okay, so next we will take a look at lookup range in Excel worksheet. Let's drag and drop the lookup range. Now, before we head over and work with lookup range in Excel worksheet, let's understand the concept of the VLOOKUP in Excel. Now, if I head over to an Excel, I already have a data, I already have a table within the sales team 1 sheet. And let's understand the VLOOKUP in a simplest manner. Now, VLOOKUP indicates that you are looking for a specific value for a given specific value. Now, what that means is, in this case, I am looking for a state for a given employee ID. So essentially what this does is, you can see VLOOKUP B9. I would like to get the information for this employee ID. My information is here. It's between B2 and H10. Do remember that if you're looking for an item in B series, then your range must start with B series. That means B column. Okay, and you can look for any information here, which is 5. 5 indicates 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 5th in the position of the starting column. Starting column is B. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm looking for a state. State is a number 5. That's why it is 5. If you would like to get, let's say, the months with the company, you will simply change from 5 to 7. So if I change this from 5 to 7, you will get the months with the company. And B9 is George. And that's the answer that you get. So if I change it back to 5, that will be Florida. If I look for this employee ID, if I just put it instead of B9, let me go ahead and put B4, then you will get North Carolina, right? So it's very simple formula. The value that you want to look for, which is the employee ID in this case, B4, the range is from B2 to H10, and what information you would like to get, I would like to get a state. So that's what the simplest way of understanding the VLOOKUP. Now let's go back with the same understanding and check the action. Now, one thing to note before we go ahead and see the lookup range, we must sort the cells on a column that we would like to retrieve the information for. Now in this case, I was looking for information from the employee ID. So I have the table sorted in the employee ID ascending. You can see here. And employee ID being the numeric, I have gone ahead and also clicked on format cells and made sure that it's a numeric. Now here in this case, if you don't have it, I would recommend that you drag and drop the sort cells in Excel worksheet and sort the column accordingly, which we have already seen in the previous video. Now let's go ahead and use lookup range after sorting the cells. Now lookup value. So let's take a same example. Let's go for B4. So that's the lookup value that we have. This is the value from which you have to get some other information. Range format, let's go for a specific ranges. Start column, start row, end column, end row. In this case, the start column is going to be B. So it's going to be B2 to H10. So let's specify that. B2 to H10. Start column of result source. Now here the little difference is this action will count the start column as number 1 as the first column. It does not really matter whether we are starting with this column. In this case, the start column is considered to be B, but in the Power Automate Actions case, the start column is always 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We are looking for state that is 6. Okay. So in this case, what we can also do is start column of the source is 6, 2, 2, 6, 10. Okay, this is what we can specify, and this should give you the state. So in this case, let's go ahead and put the state as the name of the variable. Let's click on save and let's click run. Let's wait for the state to return for 204616. That is North Carolina, which is correct. Let's change it to this 4484, which is B6. Let's change it here. It's Oregon. So in the same case, let's go ahead and put this value in the Power Automate desktop. Let me change this, edit, you put it this, click on save, click run. Let's wait for that to complete, and you can see it's Oregon. So that's the way you can also use the VLOOKUP inside the Power Automate desktop. There is an alternate approach to use this as well, and that is where you can actually use write to an Excel worksheet, and you can write a formula into this Excel exactly like what we have done, and you can write back that into the Excel cell, which will of course give you the result, and then you can read the cell value and can delete the value. It's just the alternate way of implementing the same functionality. I thank you so much for watching the video.